This is the Lenovo Yoga Slim 9i.
Lenovo's product portfolio can be a bit confusing because they have a wide range of laptops catered towards different users. The Slim series is designed to be ultra thin and efficient, resulting in longer battery life. It's got a fresh new design, it's super lightweight, and that means they've made some compromises. But first, let's talk about the coolest feature of this laptop. This display. It's a 14-inch POLED screen, or POLED screen, not sure how I'm saying it, but it's packed into a 13-inch chassis, which is super impressive. Now, POLED uses a plastic substrate instead of glass. It still carries the fundamentals of OLED technology, but now it essentially allowed Lenovo to bend the screen at the bottom to cut down the bezels, giving the 9i a cleaner, modern vibe. Plus, they also redesigned to bring the display closer to the smaller hinge. You're getting 4K at 120 Hz refresh rate, 16:10 aspect ratio, 400 nits of peak brightness output, 100% P3 color accuracy, and it also has touch support, which is pretty cool. This thing seriously looks awesome, and I can't complain about bezels on a laptop moving forward. It's just all screen from this point. Now, Lenovo also took this opportunity to integrate something even cooler. The world's first under-display webcam on a laptop. And while we've seen similar tech in foldable smartphones, Lenovo uses a similar approach here. So essentially, when the camera is activated, the color pixels around or in the POLED display directly in front of the camera turns off to let light through the sensor. Now, this is a 32 megapixel sensor, and on paper, that sounds great, but in reality, it's the opposite, since the glass in front of the high-resolution sensor impacts clarity by a long shot. I'm working with an early engineering sample here, so let me know what you guys think. The quality could change with the retail units. If you rarely use your webcam, having all this extra screen real estate is fantastic. That said, Lenovo could have handled this just a bit better. For example, they could have reduced the pixel density around the camera area, similar to something like the Galaxy Fold 4, which in turn gives you better image quality. But the downside is, of course, you do see that visibility on the display, which might be a bit of a trade-off. A hole punch camera layout like modern smartphones might have worked as well, but it would likely clash with Windows UI. I also noticed that when you have several tabs open with the camera on, it can sometimes block the close button or even an entire tab. It's just something to keep in mind. And then we have the design. I think it's both great and terrible. Let me explain. This front light over here features a 3D textured glass panel that looks absolutely gorgeous, especially in a studio setting, right? But after just a few minutes of handling, it starts to resemble a CSI crime scene, thanks to all the fingerprints that it picks up. And let's not forget, this thing is glass, regardless of how safe Lenovo says it is. And that means it's, potentially fragile, and it could crack, and I don't know what the associated costs are or would be to just replace it. I feel like Lenovo took a page out of the smartphone market where glass backs became all the rage, but on a larger surface area like this one, it's just way more work to keep it clean. It might look great in a cafe setting, it could even be a cool conversation starter, but it gets messy so fast, guys. There are a lot of other materials that they could have explored, but they ended up going with glass. It also comes in the sleek tidal teal colorway that features Lenovo's signature comfort edge design with rounder corners. It adds to the overall handling experience. It's also super lightweight, coming in at 1.23 kilos or 2.71 pounds, and it's only 0.57 inches thin or 14.8 millimeters. And check this out. The included 65-watt power adapter is so compact. It feels like I'm carrying a smartphone charger, which it could also be used for since it is USB-C. And this laptop has rapid charge support. I mean, you wouldn't even notice that this whole package is sitting in your backpack, which is really good for folks who value portability. But unfortunately, when you decide to chase ultra-thin profiles on a laptop, you're going to make some compromises to the port selection. In this case, Lenovo is only offering 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. And that's it. No HDMI, no full-size Type A, and even worse, no audio jack. I mean, that's a big red flag for me, and it's a big step back from the previous generation. The power button is integrated right beside the USB Type-C port. In fact, they actually managed to cram a webcam kill switch, which could have easily been an audio jack. Now, if we look at the interior space, the layout looks very familiar to the previous generation 9i, except you now get a dedicated co-pilot key, and some additional keys on the left-hand side to switch between performance modes, switch the audio profiles, enabling blue light filter, opening up Lenovo Vantage, and you also get a fingerprint sensor. These switches feature 1.5 millimeters of key travel, and it also has a soft coating to resist finger oils. Lenovo is always known to have some of the best keyboards on their laptops, and this one does not disappoint. It feels awesome and very rigid, and when you pair that with a really nice glass trackpad, it just completes the premium suite of features. There are also 2 tweeters and 2 woofers at the bottom, and it looks like they've integrated the tweeters underneath the keyboard, and it sounds better than I expected. It's directional. However, I did notice that if you move a little further away, the volume drops off quickly. Unlike some laptops, they usually tend to fill the room with music when you move around. This one doesn't look like it's going to be ideal for that situation. And in terms of specs, Lenovo is offering 2 models, one with the Core Ultra 7 256V CPU paired with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and an Ultra 7 258V paired with 32 gigabytes of RAM. They come with standard with 1 terabyte SSD, and you get a surprisingly large 75 watt-hour battery, which according to Lenovo is expected to give you around 17 hours of video playback. But we'll have to validate that when we get our hands on the production models. I ran some basic tests on this laptop, but again, keep in mind these results aren't final since it is an early engineering sample. But the Ultra 7 258V performs as expected, delivering solid results for a chip of this class. Despite the laptop's slim profile, Lenovo did manage to push close to 35 watts of maximum power, so this thing's holding its own against the competition in the CPU space. However, it does fall behind the Ryzen CPUs in terms of raw performance. When it comes to gaming, the performance is quite respectable. The Arc GPU handles itself pretty well, standing up against the Radeon 880M, and provides a smooth experience for casual and mid-range gaming. It's a good balance of power and efficiency, though there's still room for optimization as this is not the final hardware. But overall, this Slim 9i is shaping up to be a solid option for both productivity and gaming scenarios. If we look at upgradability, there isn't a whole lot of options here since Lunar Lake comes with the memory integrated to the CPU. So that's the Lenovo Yoga Slim 9i. I think the main highlight of this laptop is most definitely the borderless display with the invisible camera, which, let's be honest, is purely a form over function type of thing. And I really hope they develop the quality of the sensor with firmware updates, because I don't want to look like this when I'm in a meeting. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more CES coverage, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.